Hi there, and welcome to the Football Chatbox Game Week 34 Free Hit Draft. And I'm joined by Quentin from the FPL Amateurs of Aus podcast. How are you doing, Q?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yeah, no, this morning game sort of helped, I guess, soften the blow of my FPL game week, but it's been very mediocre. But looking forward to the free hit this week. I think there could be a few interesting picks that I'm looking at, so hopefully, spice up the FPL game week for myself.
Indeed. So you are playing the free hit draft. I'm not playing the free hit draft, so I think it should be a very interesting conversation to see what we're like competing against. What is the free hit chip the only chip you have left, or do you have any other chips as well?
It's the only chip I had left. I was waiting until 37, but yeah, I was kind of having a look at the fixtures. There's a few players that I didn't mind the look of, and I sort of thought I'm probably not going to want them permanently in my side. So I'm thinking probably this is the best week for me to target that. And there's a couple of good single game week fixtures as well.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, so we'll get straight into it. So this is the free hit draft that you sent to me earlier today. Now, obviously before by the time the deadline comes, this might change potentially depending on like European games and whatnot. But straight away from goal, you've got Henderson, you've got in defense Ben White, Robertson, and Saliba. In midfield, you've gone Salah, Bruno, Eze, and Saka, and up front you've got Watkins, Cunha, and Haaland. So 3-4-3 with three single game wickers. And I'm guessing the bench doesn't really matter because
Yeah, I think I've got
yeah.
Garnacho possibly first sub, and then I've got Van Heck, I think, second
Okay,
sub.
cool. So talk to me now. Let's start with the I guess the defense and the goalkeeper together as a combination. Um, First
I
of all,
kind of
yeah, go ahead.
with the goalkeeper, I sort of as I've said on your show a couple of times on my own podcast that I really like a keeper that has sort of that save point
Hmm.
sort of potential. I did have Neto, so it's either Neto or Henderson, but I'm leaning towards Henderson. Just I think Palace could keep it quite tight at home to West Ham. And whereas Newcastle, obviously, there's probably going to be goals in that, but I think there's going to be lots of shots in that. So, I sort of look at Henderson as possibly maybe like a 5 points
Hmm.
baseline for this week, which is pretty decent when you're looking at sort of a goalkeeper, just in a normal game week, let alone a double game week. So I think 5 points is very much achievable, but I wouldn't surprise to see maybe like in the Newcastle game, he gets 6A, so he gets the two extra points and, might get 4 points just from that one fixture. So I'm kind of looking at it as just an upside of save points this week. I don't think I really want to invest a lot of money and get sort of like an Allison, but it could be a nice alternative there. But yeah, I think either Neto or Henderson for me is sort of the pick there in goals. I did look at a Jose Sarr, but with the Arsenal fixture, I think with the way Arsenal played in the previous week, I think they're going to come out all guns firing. So probably don't really want to own any defensive assets from Wolves, but I'm pairing them with just the three at the back there. Really dislike the defensive position the last sort of probably 6 to 7 weeks, not really getting the regular clean sheet. So I went with Robertson for the attacking upside. He's actually he wasn't too bad, got into some pretty good positions there the other day against Palace. So I think there's a fair bit of upside there, and they have been moving him from right and left, which makes me think that with the injury to their what's the is Bradley, yeah,
Bradley,
injury to
yeah.
Bradley in their fixture just gone. I think that there's a chance that he could get some decent minutes, and I think I'm looking at maybe Robertson as 130 to 140 minutes over the double game week, which I think is enough time for him to get something. And it wouldn't surprise me if he gets an attack in return this week. And went with the double up with Arsenal defense with White with the attacking potential and then Saliba with the BPS potential. So I'm probably not expecting two clean sheets, but I think one clean sheet is enough to sort of get a benefit out of it.
I mean, two is possible. I'll say it's very possible. But the thing is, okay, few questions with the. I guess goalkeeper makes sense. Like Henderson, you're going for save points. And given, I guess, you're looking at Arsenal and Liverpool in terms of their defensive options as well, you probably want to invest in non-goalkeeper spots there because Ben White does have the attacking threat, like you mentioned, and Saliba with the bonus points. Um, with the defense in general, have you? I guess this is something a lot of people on a free hit might be thinking with regards to like Trent as an option. Has that crossed your mind, or do you think it's just because like minutes risk, even though he's just returning, it's not worth it?
Yeah, I did kind of have a look at it, see what he come on about the 58th minute
Yeah.
mark, 50-minute mark. So he did get a bit of time there, but I'm not 100% sure they're going to try and manage his minutes. Like say if in the Fulham game if they get the win, I feel like the next game he might get benched. He might get 20 minutes off the bench in that second fixture. Whereas I think Robertson, because they've been moving him right to left, sort of gives a little bit more upside. But
Mm.
you know, Trent, I wouldn't tell people not to get him in because he just needs one game where he's going to be on free kick duties and bangs in a free kick or gets, an attack and return. And, it could be a 12 plus point haul for him. So I think he's definitely an option. I think I've toyed with Robertson, Trent, and Dallo as the three options there, and then investing in a double game player elsewhere. But yeah, at the moment it's Robertson. But yeah, I'm open to sort of changing if I get, some decent intel before deadline.
Okay, cool. Now with the Arsenal double defense, I'll get to that when I guess we speak about the midfield. So let's go to your midfield. Salah, Bruno, Eze, and Saka. Now I guess Salah, Eze, and Saka they kind of make sense as like probably the main, also some of the main captaincy considerations this week, I guess, as options. Um, you've got Bruno in there as a single game weeker. And obviously you have one extra Liverpool spot as well if you need to go there. So what's the decision between like a Diaz, Bruno, or even a Olise, maybe?
I've got at the moment, like with Bruno pick, I think as I said, there's a few good single game week fixtures, and for me at home against Sheffield, I think that is a good fixture for us, even though we have been a bit shaky. Technically we had a good fixture on the weekend and still conceded 2 goals, so it's definitely not exactly 100% great fixture, but I'm still tossing up between Bruno, possibly. I don't mind the Odegaard, but I did
Mm,
see his yellow flag, so that's probably turned me off a little bit because I was looking at the fixtures they have in the double game week, and Odegaard 2 goals in his last 2 games against Chelsea and 3 goals in his last 3 games against Wolves. So for me,
promising
there's
for
a bit of
me as a
potential
voter.
there for Odegaard. So. If I get any news heading into the deadline that Odegaard's all good to go, he possibly could come in for a Bruno Fernandes, and I might even move off maybe a Watkins and maybe go to a Hoyland against Sheffield up top there. So, I've got a bit of flexibility. Eze is probably going to stay in there. I did toy with the idea of an Eze Elise double up. But I think just with that Newcastle, I think it could be a good move, but I can't go without Saka because he has a
Yeah.
decent history against the teams he's playing. Salah, against Everton, he's been absolutely ridiculous. I think I was looking at like 3 goals in his last 2 games against Everton, so definitely don't want to go without him. But if I was to go a second Liverpool asset, it was Diego Jota. I think he's the type of player that I feel he'll still get about 110 minutes in this double, and I think in that he could come off the bench, still net a goal, which he probably should have in the game the other day. I think he missed a sitter from
Yeah.
6 yards out. So um, yeah, for me, Jota's probably the other Liverpool asset that I would bring in if I was going to go the double in the midfield. But I think in terms of free hit, I like to have one or two sort of, I guess, punt picks. And I guess like a Watkins, Haaland, Bruno are 3 players that not a lot of free hit sides are going to have because of the single game weeks where people tend to sort of, I guess, get a bit of tunnel vision and go, need all the doubles we can get. But then you look at Haaland against Brighton. Brighton, I don't think they've set the world on fire defensively. And Watkins against Bournemouth. Watkins literally could, score a hat trick
Mm.
on any given day. So I feel like it's tough in terms of looking at how many single game week plays you should go compared to how many doubles you could go. But I think for me, the magic number is probably at least 7 to 8
Mm.
doublers and then 3 single game week fixtures for this week.
Fair enough. Now I mentioned about Arsenal defense, double defense before. Have you thought of like Arsenal double attack over the double defense? Maybe like even going Havertz as well as an option. Now you mentioned Odegaard as well, but like yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, my first draft that I did on the weekend after deadline was the one defensive asset from Arsenal. I think I just had Saliba, and then I went Saka and Havertz in the middle, which I really liked. And then, today for our own podcast, and I was doing a bit of a deep dive on obviously different Arsenal assets, what their history's like in these fixtures, heading into sort of picking the best captaincy option also. And then when I saw the Odegaard stuff, I went, oh, geez, if he's not flagged, he could definitely be a pick that not many people apart, obviously from yourself and a few others that own him already. But in a double game week, I think he could be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna need him. uh, okay. Then the front line: Watkins, Matheus Cunha, and Haaland. I guess the front line makes sense from the players that you picked. I guess the notable omissions would be Dom Solanke, and I would say maybe Mateta as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And then obviously everyone's pantomime villain, Darwin Nunes.
Yeah. I think with just the Jota being fit, I just don't know whether I'd be able to invest in a Darwin Nunes. And we saw on the weekend, what did he have? Three or four really good chances and didn't finish with a single attack and return. So I definitely think I've got
You
a
Junior.
child behind me. Yeah, so I don't know, and Solanke obviously has a bit of value with the double game week, but Cunha's just looked outstanding. I sort of having a look at him in chances created with another popular pick over the last few weeks, which is Alexander Isak. Um, he's had 19 chances created this season, but you look at Cunha, who's had 26 chances created. So he does offer, I guess, a variety of his attacking returns rather than just the goal scorer, and he does offer the assists and chance creation. So I think there's a little bit of upside there, and it wouldn't surprise me if he can get a couple of chances against Arsenal. I'm hoping that he can finish at least one of them, and then I think against Bournemouth you could definitely see a repeat of what we saw on the weekend where he got two goals. So I think yeah, there's a little bit of upside there, but I think like Nunes, we've seen if it all comes together, it could be three goals.
Hmm.
But it just I think with Watkins, Haaland, we saw on the weekend Watkins, massive return, and we've seen probably what three or four times this season where he's got 15 plus
Yep.
points from a game. And Haaland, I feel like he's been a little bit hit and miss of late, but he's still the leading goal scorer in the Premier League with Palmer. So I definitely think this could be a fixture where he gets one or two goals, and you're looking at sort of, I guess, a Nunes. He might get one goal in one fixture, get benched the next fixture, come on and get 20 minutes, and Haaland could have 5 or 6 points advantage on him.
Yeah, fair enough. Darwin with like all the Liverpool players back. I as a Darwin owner, I'm not as confident now. Going into this double at this point, if I didn't have him, I wouldn't have gone for him as well, to be honest, because of the amount of like other Liverpool options that I could back. Um, cool. So I guess and then Macheta, not really. I guess you think Eze probably is significantly better option than Mateta as well.
Yeah, I think Mateta's like a good budget enabler, but I feel like on the free hit, you're not really having too much issue with the budget because you can kind of adjust your bench to only have sort of one or two playing players, and then you can kind of just go bare minimum for the rest. But yeah, I think Eze and Elise, like I think if people have the guts to go the Eze and Elise double up, like that could be really like the biggest differential
Mm.
pick of the week. And yeah, I'm still kind of open to it. We'll see closer to deadline, but yeah, we've seen Elise. There's been times where you can get at least two to three attacking returns, and if you get at least one attacking return from Eze, that could be a massive combination.
Fair enough, yeah. And you mentioned differentials. I think this question a lot of people will wonder about is like up to what extent do you go as like a differential? Do we go like, oh, Huang Hichan has come off the bench and now played a few minutes, he's fit maybe, and take that punt? Or do we go, we know these players are good and have already played like minutes in terms of Eze and Olise, and just like stick to a level of puntiness?
Well, I feel like it's a weird week to, I guess, when you the definition of a different differential this week, because a differential could just be going Bruno Fernandes, a single game week player, even though he's still like owned by people. But when the people that didn't use a free hit, I don't think Bruno Fernandes is going to be in their side. I don't like. I wouldn't surprise me if both Haaland and Watkins are in the side. So technically, that could be like a differential compared to other free hits. But then when you look at Eze, definite differential. Elise, definite differential. Robertson, a differential. So I think in terms of that, it's a weird way to say what is a differential this week, but I think you can find enough in single game week plays and lowly owned double game week plays that you can sort of find a few hidden gems there.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess as a combination, like you combine those three single game week players itself, that itself is like a massive differential compared to the rest of the free hitters and also non-free hitters.
Yeah, like even a Foden could be a
Yeah,
differential this week because obviously free hitters, I wouldn't see a lot of free hitters going for Foden
yeah.
this.
And a lot of people who own him are probably selling him after his recent bench hits.
So that's the perk of me doing the free hit this week is I can actually keep Foden in my side this week. So
Yep, fair enough. Then I guess the final one I wanted to ask was obviously the top point scorer for this week in Cole Palmer. Now, not only free hitters, but a lot of people who aren't free hitting also will be have the question of, do we start him? Do we bench him? Where are you with that?
well, we're going to do a comparison here. So we've got Everton
Yep.
against Arsenal. So Everton, the wheels are falling off. Defensively, not great. They can make games difficult, but I feel like once they conceded one or two, the floodgates kind of opened. Whereas Arsenal, I feel like they can concede, but they're not going to concede big numbers. And in
Mm,
a game like Chelsea versus Arsenal, I think they can't risk being lackluster in defense against Chelsea especially after seeing how well they combine him and Jackson
yeah.
on this morning. But yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if they keep it pretty tight there. They get the win, and I could see Chelsea scoring one goal, but I don't think it's going to be like what we saw this morning. I think Chelsea have seen this season where they can win 4-0 against a team and the next week versus like a Sheffield and lose and have a 1-1 draw or lose 1-0. So
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
feel like if it was Liverpool, um, I'd be a bit more confident in saying, yeah, they can back that
Yeah.
performance up. But being Chelsea, like you just don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. And then I guess finally captaincy. Is Salah certain as your captaincy option, or are you still kind of toying with that?
Well, I did do a bit of a for our podcast later tonight. I've done a bit of a write up for obviously captaincy options. For me, I had Salah as the number one option with the 3 goals in his last 2 fixtures against Everton, which they've got a second fixture as well. So I feel like Fulham definitely can be get at like I think Salah can really have a good day against Fulham because they can be quite vulnerable on the counter, and if they can actually finish their chances this week, unlike on the weekend. We could see like multiple goals in that fixture. So I think there's a fair bit of upside. And I had Saka as my second pick. And, he's had 2 goals in his last 2 games against Wolves. And we've seen all he needs is a pen. And, there's a nice starting point for him. And he's got two, I'd say, pretty decent fixtures. Chelsea looked quite vulnerable at the back the other week. So I feel like there's still a bit of upside there. And I've got in the third pick, I've got Odegaard, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, just absolute ridiculous history against both those sides. And if he's fit, like, could be massive.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair. Cool. I guess that's what I'm still toying on the captaincy. I might go like Saka or someone. Just because I'm like everyone's gonna go Salah, and I kind of need a differential for like mini league chasing and all of that. So I might go for the Arsenal player. But we'll see how it goes in terms of
Or
Europe and everything.
Watkins.
No, I don't have Watkins at the moment, so that's not a possibility.
Yeah, fair.
Yep. So we'll see how it go. But yeah. Um, anything to plug, Q?
I'll just our episode should be out sometime tomorrow Australian time, and that'd make it probably lunchtime UK time. So yeah, got Damo on the pod again tonight, and I've got a friend of mine from another FPL group chat that's actually doing pretty good this season. So he's coming on as well. So it'll be an action-packed episode with plenty of player picks, differentials, and yeah, some nice analysis heading into this. I think is a pretty tricky game week if you got the free hit because obviously the good single game week fixtures. So there'd be a lot of information for free hitters and non-free hitters on the pod this week.
Yep, fair enough. And I'm also going to be recording with Pete, FPL Sidenight podcast as well later today after this video. So lots of content coming. And also for those of you who are watching, if you reached up to this point, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well. We just passed 700 subscribers and on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, and go check out Q and the FPL Amateurs of Aus podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Google
Yeah, pretty
Podcast.
much everywhere
Yeah.
except for YouTube and those odd weird places that not many people listen to podcasts on.
Yep. Fair enough. Cool. So wherever you get your podcast from, you can find them there. All right. So thank you, Q, for joining me. And if anyone has any questions about his free hit draft, add it in the comments, and I'll reply to any. And you can also follow him on Twitter, or X, FPL Amateurs of Aus. That's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.